Hello, world. Welcome to episode 7 of the 3FL podcast, centered around faith, family, fitness, love, loyalty, and leadership. I'm your host, Tyler Friend, and today we have a very special guest, Andre Palmer. So I've known Andre for about 6 years now. Since I've seen him, I've always seen authenticity in being genuine in all circumstances with every individual, and he's always given positive light to everybody. He actually just told me he kind of looks at himself as more like a universal power source, and he's just blessed to be able to have that type of energy and to be able to give an influence on such a scale. And I identify with the same thing, but at the same time, he's got a very interesting story, very different perspective on life, which is always a great thing.
Absolutely.
So I just want to dive into that. If you want to introduce yourself a little more, we can go ahead and get started.
Hey, how y'all doing, man? My name is Andre, 29. I come from a background of sports, but it didn't always start that way. Super young and fragile as a child. I was born prematurely, 2 months, so I was always kind of told, oh, you're not going to be able to do much. You're not going to be able to, amount to much. You'll always be super small, skinny, not smart, and everything. So kind of overcoming those circumstances and living life, I say very fast, very young, allowed me to become the person that I am today and become the light, because I had to see the dark in order to become the light for those that I affect around me. So I'm very blessed to even be in a position to have anyone look up to me, even if it's just one person across the world. So being able to just share my story or dive into conversations and digest things like this is my passion. It always has been as long as I can remember. So very thankful for having me on and allowing us to dig into some topics that would really pick people's brains and open their ears, even though they're already open.
I think a big thing is really about like how you carry yourself on a regular basis, and obviously being in like a positive mindset, no matter what goes on in life, right? So I went to a seminar just a couple weekends ago, and they talked about being the rock in the river or the immovable man. And as the stream goes by and the water moves, the rock just stays
Right there.
It's right there, and it's just balance. It's just in its stillness. How do you do that?
Man, I would say that reaching that point in your life is something that requires a steady, consistent edge to work on who you are as a person. So for me personally, coming from the background that I came from and growing up with the childhood that I did, becoming that immovable rock started with me, seeing my mom work 2 or 3 jobs to keep food on the table. Me having to be at home with my sister cooking ramen noodles on the stove I didn't know how to cook, and having to undergo struggle turns you into that rock that allows the world, which would be the water, which is how I see it, the world around you flows past you. And if you become that immovable rock through your circumstances and through my struggles and things that I've gone through, I've sharpened myself to become that rock, to sit still in the midst of the world moving past me like water. So daily I work on remaining that immovable rock by sharpening my mental skills, by practicing the things that I speak unto people, by training my body hard in the gym, because that's just as important as training your mind, keeping my relationship close with God. Like, all of those things continue to make me into that foundation or that rock that allows the world around to move past, because I know that if I continue to do these things and strengthen myself from the inside out, that I'm going to continue to be that rock, and I can handle anything that the world flows past me.
Great way to put it.
Deep,
that was deep, bro.
I'm telling you.
And the thing is like, no matter what, there's always, and I always try to put an analogy in place of like the wounded. Everybody's a wounded warrior. The wounds, they feel them. They're there. They see them. It's not uncommon that they went through it. The trauma, whatever the case is always going to be there, right? Your whole mission in life is to make it through it.
Correct.
Just as if you're a warrior wounded, the whole idea is just to make it back home to their family. And I think sometimes people get lost in the wound, and then they lose sight of their mission, their why of getting back home to their family, or being able to make it through life. And what people don't understand is they got to take the wound and they got to separate it from the warrior, because the wound is of the flesh. The warrior, though, is in the heart of the man, is in the heart of the person, is in the heart of the fighter. And it takes things that you go through, wounds, that you turn into your weapons. And you weaponize yourself day in and day out as you continue to go through and endure pain. Your why continues to magnify whenever you are going through struggles, and you have the mindset of being able to make it through. That's whenever you're able to, be able to live to tell the story for another day, and be able to impact and be able to really make the difference in the world whenever you're able to go back and speak about it.
Putting a pin into that point. My dad, before he left this world, he left me with a quote that, quite literally has gotten me through adolescence all the way up to today, and I use it every day. He said, "Son, there's a lot of good people in this world, and there's even a lot of great people in this world. But in order to overcome all that and set yourself apart, you must be exceptional." The word exceptional is above the standard. It's above average. It's above the line. You set yourself to be exceptional, not just good, not just great. Overcoming those struggles, that trauma, those things that we deal with, and you overcome and you take that step, you just leveled up. You're now exceptional because you are above where you were. So every time you take a new step over something that you have to overcome, you become exceptional. So you take the word exceptional and you turn it into a verb, an action. Make it an action. And leading by example and overcoming those things by example continue to separate the wounds from the warrior, because once you realize and you had that epiphany, wait, I'm exceptional, I just overcame this, you just separated flesh from the warrior. You're a warrior now because you overcame and you left that flesh behind because it was something that happened to you, not who you are. So that separation, like you said, once you grab that, you cannot be stopped.
And after you make the separation, you realize it really didn't happen to you, but it ultimately happened
for
you. Yes. And whenever you go talk about it and you're able to see the impact, the influence, the fulfillment, the significance in pouring it into somebody else, and get somebody else to see a bigger picture or a level of gratitude, or, be able to see value in you more as an individual because they're able to see that you've been through something that maybe you've also experienced as well. And then in seeing that, it kind of takes that loneliness away from the world.
Ooh.
Which is a big reason why we do stuff like this, right?
Absolutely a reason why we do, to share light, because right now somebody watching this can be in the dark right now.
Yeah.
And if there is anyone watching this and you're in the dark, just understand that I promise that you're not alone. I myself just overcame something that was a place I'd never been before, and I didn't think there was a way to get out. But having individuals in my life like Tyler and those around me, I could not give up. I could not stop fighting because I had to find a way to separate the things that had occurred to me and realize that they happened to me for a reason. Right before even starting this, we realized those things happened to me for a reason. There's a reason I'm here right now. There's a reason that I happened to run into you after my, remission from the world and ducked off for about 3 or 4 months. And there's a reason I happened to run into you. Spirits connect for God's purpose. There is no coincidence. In my eyes, in my belief, I don't believe coincidences, they exist at all, because God already has things lined up in a timeline. They just have to start occurring. They just happen. Remember, everything in the world has an equal and opposite reaction. So for a cause, there's a reaction. For your action, there's a cause. Everything happens for a purpose that's already planned.
Divine.
So you're not alone. If you guys are sitting in the dark, you are not by yourself. This is a message to say, keep fighting. Don't give up. You can make it. I promise.
Back to going into that, obviously reason, there was a way, something happened. You ended up here. And you don't ever come to this gym, too.
I know, which is
crazy.
It's just even crazier.
So it's like, I look at things in a situation of like frequency. Like you went away for a long time, right? You got away. You put all the negative energy away from you. You went into probably some type of deep meditation,
Absolutely,
some type of like real deal, like fight against whether it was flesh or whatever was going on in your head. There was there was a man that was made on top of the mountain as you got through it, and there was a higher frequency based off the whole situation. I also have been looking into an insight of like guided meditations, keeping positive energy around me, making sure I'm like taking care of myself, doing the actively disciplined, positive stuff that you should do to reinforce yourself to make sure you're the man that you're supposed to be, and keeping those principles and all those stuff in line and the morals no matter what. Don't compromise, whatever the case is, and being this person. And the reason why, I'm going to run back into this, is because my standard is different than other people. And I know my destiny is large. There's a magnitude. It's at a high scale. It's of abundance. And I think the reason you went through that, but I'm also going and magnifying and vibrating at a different frequency. And I feel like because those type of things happen, for some reason you came here, and I'm like, I gotta do a podcast.
That was perfect.
I gotta do a podcast.
That was perfect. I mean, it couldn't have worked any better because I came out of that dark spot, and man, I turned that channel on that frequency, like you were saying, and for some reason that frequency aligned with the frequency that we had no idea what the either person.
On that one.
We didn't know we were listening to the same station at that time, and then we happened to pop in the same room with our JBLs bumping. You know what I'm saying? You're like, wait, you listening? Yo, I'm listening to the same song, and then they're like, yo, we got to throw a DJ part, bro. We got to mix up. You know what I'm saying? So like, that is by no coincidence.
Yeah.
By no coincidence do those things. Like I get goosebumps talking about that kind of stuff because it's so real. Like one thing about energy, it doesn't lie. It exists always as constant. It cannot be created nor destroyed. We know that. It can only flow, transfer, and be passed along. So in order for energy to stay in an area, it has to be sent and then returned and then passed somewhere else. Exactly. So that's what we're doing here. We're sharing energy now, as we always have. But now we're really like amplifying that thing right now, bro. We're turning it up right now, bro. And this is a blessing to our spirits and energies because when we get to divulge and release things that are on our minds, because I know how your mind is, you know how mine is. Ever since we met each other, we were like, bro, we gotta go because we'll sit here and talk for 2-3 hours, and we gotta pay attention because we got work to do. So it's good when we get to share and dissect these kinds of things because most people don't have an opportunity to talk about things like this. So if we get to share this type of information with one another and people get to hear and listen to it, if one person hears our conversation and has a spark,
raises their frequency.
Oh my God, their frequency gets turned up. Guess what they're going to do? Somebody's going to hear their music later one day and be like, what are they listening to over there?
Yeah.
Let me go tap in.
Yeah.
Dude, and now we just started a revolution at that point, bro.
Yeah.
That's all it takes, bro. One match can light a matchbox.
Yeah.
One match can light many candles. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's all it takes. One spark, bro. That's it. So what a blessing truly it is to be able to have the capacity to have a mind to be able to speak this way and with someone who also like functions on that frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's cool because it's like on an intellectual level, right? And on an emotional level. You things gotta line up the right way, and whenever that happens, like then you can, because it's like I can't have conversations like this with everybody.
With just anyone.
Neither can you.
Nope, absolutely not.
So to be able to have it, and now it just be in the room and to have so much it's more than just knowledge, bro. It's
beyond
experience.
Yeah, man.
And being able to really like identify with the things that people probably don't even know that they might be struggling with in the world. And they're like, wow, how do they know?
Speak, like scratching that itch on your brain that you didn't know you had, or how to itch it. Like that part, bro. Like most people don't even realize what the things that they're going through. And they may hear this conversation and be like, hold on, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And I want to go more into like, God's calling on your life, right?
Absolutely.
So I know it's a faith, family, fitness, love, loyalty, and leadership. I know a lot of those things that you really, really, really identify with in your kind of brand as well. So if you want to talk about that.
Absolutely. Man, you speak in my language because, my whole life was built on faith. We grew up in church, my mom, my parents. And when I truly got to the point to be able to understand who God was and like his gifts that he has for all of us and his purpose and what he did for us, it really opened the reservoir to my brain and being able to comprehend 10 times more than I ever could. So I always knew I very vividly remember at the age of 13, like knowing and hearing God like say what my purpose was and realizing. So the way I explain it best is God made me a universal vessel to fit and or like charge any person in the entire world, no matter who, what, when, where, or why. So he made me a vessel, kind of like if you put, like Bruce Lee said, if you put water in the cup, it becomes the cup. You put water in a bottle, it becomes a bottle. God made me the vessel to fit any entity of a human being or whatever they may be going through. So, for example, I never fit into a clique. In high school, middle school, there was no such thing for me because I was friends with the goth kids, I was friends with the rich kids, I was friends with the not so rich kids, I was friends with the jocks, I was friends with the band, I was friends with the nerds, I was like everything, right? I fit it all because like I didn't believe in a clique because my heart never even registered anything like that close to me. So God said, I need you to be someone who can fit into any crowd and touch the heart of any person, no matter how deep their scars may have been. So I noticed that in my life, like the people that I would come in contact with, like grown adults at the age of 15 would come to me because something in them told them that they could speak to me about the things they were going through. So I was having full, deep conversations with 30, 40-year-old people at the age of 15. Like literally, my parents would just watch in awe because they didn't know how I had this knowledge to be able to speak to these other grown adults about things like I went through that were similar, but not really, because in that short span of my life, I had seen things probably 30, 40, 50 years worth of trauma and things that like no kid should have ever had to go through. But God made me go through that, and he put me there so I could be that vessel. So he created this thing in me that says, every day that you wake, I have one mission and goal for you. And that is to make someone, and I wrote it down, I have it written down on my refrigerator, it's to make someone smile and or feel differently than they did about themselves in some way every day before you go to bed.
Change people's state.
Every day. And that's one. That's just a smile changes the state and whole nature and chakra, I'll say, related to anime, of a person's nature. You put a smile on somebody's face and create laughter. What are you releasing? You're releasing dopamine, oxytocin. You're releasing these things that are creating the happy sensation in an individual. So God said, I need you to be this vessel that I can take this piece, I can put it here. I can take this piece, I can put it here. I can take you and I can put it here. You can fit into any room because you are the one that I chose to be able to deal with all of these things I'm going to give you. Like, he said, I hope you know that like your life is not going to be easy, but I'm going to put you in these situations so that way when you are in a room with someone who needs you, you know how to empathize because you've been through something similar.
I'm going to give you a natural ability to have unlimited connectivity with anybody.
Unlimited connectivity.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you insight and wisdom on the love languages, on how to use them in each situation to be able to influence, love, and make that person feel significant and seen throughout the situation.
That part. And that is a hard task to be given because with the joy that comes with fulfilling like all types of walks of life comes the heavy burden of the drainage and the heaviness that comes with it because you get consumed because you're the empathetic sponge that you become from other individuals. It starts to seep into you. And I had to learn how to wring myself out from being overflown with things because I used to take everything in so hard before learning how to disseminate. It used to put me, I physically tired I would get from listening to someone talk to me because I was so invested in them. I would go to sleep after.
You would just feel their pain.
Dude, I would literally be so tired and go to sleep. Yeah. So just to this day, being the age of 29, I'm still learning about my gift that God gave me, right? Because it is a gift. He gifted all of us, but he gave me that gift and I'm still learning even more tricks to make that gift even stronger. And with this last, it's not a setback, it was this time of struggle that I had to go through to.
You had to sit down from it.
He made me so much stronger with my ability that he gave me. And he said, you asked to be strong. So I'm going to give you the challenges to be strong.
Yeah.
You asked for wisdom.
Yeah.
I'm going to test you. So honestly, extremely thankful once I was able to sit back and realize that even though it was super difficult and dark, but his purpose in my head and what allowed me to realize to come out of it was stronger than anything that I was going through. And once I realized that his purpose for me was beyond words in comparison to what I may be going through, I was able to start shaking the chips off, and I was like, his purpose. That's right. Like, duh. Like, that's why I'm handling this right now. Duh. That's why I'm dealing with this. Why didn't I? You know, I got it now.
And it's like the exposure of the pain at such a young age, right? And because I identify with that a lot. Like there were problems of abandonment. There was the problems of abuse. There was physical. There was mental. There was bullying. There was, there was so many. There were people telling you that you weren't good enough, that you looked up to, that you loved. There was people that would freaking betray you day in and day out. There was so many different things that you would just feel, but you couldn't. You weren't able to express how you felt in your pain because you didn't have the right to exercise the voice because you didn't learn how to. So you internalized every single thing and every single problem, and you festered and you focused on it for so long that you mastered it. Now every time you talk to a person, an individual, you say, okay, boom, this moment that they talk to you, their energy pushes into you, you know exactly what that feeling is. You're able to paint a picture, tell a story, talk about a situation, whether it be from you or a third person that you've been able to experience, to be able to just identify with their pain and make them feel like in the moment that this is like, it's crazy how these things turn out. And I was able to just sit in front of this person and them tell me, and give me some light, give me some hope that life is actually gonna turn out in my favor,
Correct.
And the same thing happens on a daily basis for me.
Day to day.
Maybe if it's not at work, it's outside of work. If it's not in person, it's through social media.
Absolutely.
And it's just like there's so much brokenness in the world, and it's so and it gives me a level of gratitude because I know what that feeling feels like, right? There was a lady that I was talking to. I was paying a bill, and she was telling me that she didn't have anything. She had cancer. She was broke, living homeless. She had 3 kids. They were in her car.
Wow.
And she was going to drive over a bridge and commit suicide with all 3 of her kids in the car, right? Dude, the car stopped. It broke down out of the middle of nowhere on a highway. Everything went silent. All these cars are honking and everything. She's out of it. She didn't get in a car accident. She just lost consciousness of the situation. She was screaming, not hearing nothing. There was just so many things going on, and next thing you know, she ends up driving on her parents. Something happened. The car started again. She ended up in her parents'
property. Yeah.
To talk about it, and then she ended up talking to me over the phone. But it's like, and she was able to actually bounce back from that, live a fruitful life. Her and her kids are taken care of. They all went to school. So, going through that and hearing that, just like, man, it makes you understand that there's something else besides, self-will,
In you being able to be someone that she could speak to, like, in that time, and knowing what you've come from and where God placed you and the purpose that He placed on your life, like, it was a role for you.
Confirmation.
Like, dude, it gave you confirmation. Like, like I'm really like living my purpose. Like I was able to be a foot in the steps, like, for this lady in this moment when she was undergoing something that seemed hopeless. You literally were a shred of light, a shred of hope.
Well, she was actually shred of light, shred of hope.
She was
For me. She was able to talk to me about it.
Correct. She was able to come to you.
Get me to see perspective. Yeah, she was
from
able to
her
talk
end.
about it, but from her pain, and live, level of fulfillment with somebody that she doesn't even know.
That part. That's what. That's where I'm getting at. It's like she didn't even know you like that, and was able to quite literally give her perspective to you because, in some way, something in her knew that speaking about it to you was going to create some form of light to be shed and have a form of perspective that was going to resonate with you and her.
And that was a big thing, it's just like, because it's all faithfully guided, no pun intended, no.
Literally.
No, it's just a faithfully guided process. Andre, I usually leave a spot for anybody to ask me anything,
For sure.
If there's any questions that you have for me.
Yeah, man.
Or if you want to talk about anything else that's like specific that you like the world needs to hear.
Oh yeah, I'll touch on to like kind of like what my brand stands for, because I remember you asked me about how like my purpose ties into my brand, and faithfully driven. I'm sitting at now. Here I am 28 years old. You know, I've always done what I've done. I've coached people. I train dogs, whether it's in person, online. I've life coached people. And I was like, man, I gotta get an LLC. Like, I gotta get a brand. Like, what? Like, no idea what my name could be. Like, had all these weird names. And I'm sitting at lunch one day, and I kind of let it just be. I said, God'll bring one to me. I'm eating lunch, chilling. And next thing you know, this thing goes smack in my forehead. Built by Dre. I say, hold on, what? Dre gotta stand for something. And I'm like, okay, bet. What does it stand for? Let me think about characteristics like I carry myself by. Discipline, relentless, and exceptional. I said, wait 1 second. It popped right there. I said, built by Dre. So like, my purpose to being that universal vessel for everyone ties into like those 3 characteristics. There isn't a single issue in the existence of mankind that you cannot use either of those 3 or all 3 of those to overcome.
Yeah.
So like that universal statement from a universal vessel. To be Dre, I'm turning it into a verb, like an action item. It's a movement.
Yeah.
To be Dre means to be disciplined, be relentless, and be exceptional.
Yeah.
If you rock that way, there isn't one problem that stands in front of you that you literally can't step over. Whether it takes you a day, a year, a month, like it doesn't matter. But like if you stick to what it means to be Dre, there isn't a thing that can shake you. So my question to you is, when you specifically faced harder than normal struggles, I'll say, like ones that really bummed you down in the day, because like, you know, you're already worn out from a day at work, right? You're like, man, and then you get smacked with something that's like, for real, bro.
I was gonna bring this up, but I didn't want to bring it up.
For real, you're like, nah, for real.
My
so
God.
look at that. I didn't even know nothing about that. It's just energy, right?
I'm so equipped.
It's crazy. Listen. So how do you? I'm
Look,
telling
you
you,
see
I see
him?
him. I
You
see
see
him.
him?
How do you manage and overcome? Because that just came to my heart. I didn't even know where that came from.
Yeah.
I just happened to ask. So like, you know, energy don't lie. We just talked about that.
Listen,
bro.
dude.
So how do you overcome and like deal
This
with
is
that
crazy
when that
because-
happens? Because that's on my heart to ask you.
So I will say, one, the thing that I've really been doing a lot, and it's just like for the past couple years in the dark, is literally on a journey to, besides master self, you know, master emotions, master, you know, be a person that people can depend on. Be a person that, you know, people look up to. Be the example. And in being the example, what you see is that, you know, the example never takes the low road. It always takes the high road. Never takes the short route. Always takes the long route.
Inevitably.
It builds discipline that way. There's things that average consumers in the world, they just typically want to do. You know, whenever you start to wake up and you see, and you know that stuff drives you crazy, and it makes you sick to see the things that you know are wrong, and then you continue to do them to people. It just makes you look at life in a different perspective. So in my self-development, my personal development, right?
Yes.
The discipline there, but then there's also like self-work that you got to do on yourself. So abandonment was a problem. You know, belief was a problem. Confidence.
Man.
You know, not feeling educated, like I wasn't smart. Like there were so many different things that you go through, and then there's like emotional pain tied to it. The pain doesn't go away unless you process it. You get through it.
You have to.
You know, there's, you know, for 8 years I put myself through absolute hell. You know, I don't know if you ever read a book, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
That's a good one, bro.
All right, now after you get exposed to that book, you start to see your lineage. You start to see all your generational curses. You start to see all these things. So what you know then is that you've gotten through every single thing up until that point. Now, there's IQ, there's EQ, there's AQ. IQ is intellectual quotient. EQ, emotional quotient. AQ is adversity quotient. So adversity quotient is, you know, based off of the things that you go to. How do you respond? What is your reactions? What's your response time? These things ultimately create a scorecard for you. And whenever you're able to understand and have awareness when adversity comes, you are able to see which route to take. So it's an ultimate awareness of mastery of self. You can't internalize every single thing that happens to you, because if not, if you do that, you'll just be a broken mess. So it takes a lot of work, But at the end of the day, that's how I handle my struggles, my problems, is understanding, this is something that I'm supposed to go through. I'm unbeatable to everything that I've already been through from this point forward. And then I know who walks behind me. He walks with me. He walks in front of me. He walks beside me.
Oh man.
He doesn't knock. I don't have to knock on the door
man.
anymore. I'm so connected to him. He kicks it open for me.
Whew.
We just move. We just go bullet train
Straight
through. Yeah. And whenever you have that unstoppable force and that much belief and that much awareness of what's possible in life, and you're able to live to that potential, and you have to become a certain standard and have a certain value in the world, and you can't have mixed morals. You can't have, compromising, belief system within yourself that this is okay, but I want to do this,
Yeah.
but I want to have my cake, but I also want to eat it too. And whenever you don't compromise with who you are and what that is, you become a strong, powerful individual.
Bingo.
And it's all about, and I say this all the time, is like, the more confident you get, the more you grow and you get better, the humility has to grow. Because if you build a certain way like that and you have no humility, it'll never last. So the whole idea is, as you grow, in the physical world, you have to grow in the the spiritual, the emotional.
Yep.
You have to grow holistically
As an entity.
As an entity, you can't just have one focus, because that's what you call being, one-dimensional. And we live in at least a 3D world.
At least
I'm
3D,
a 5D. I'm
we
a
touch
5,
4 to
6.
5. We touch 4 to 5.
Yeah.
Hey, and you said something that resonated deep with my heart. You said never compromising who you are turns you into the amazing person you were destined to be. You can't change who you were, because who you were was already written for you. You just have to tap into that if you really want to. And faith is the strongest superpower you could ever have, because the definition of faith is believing in something you can't see. A non-tangible thing to believe in requires an immense amount of faith. Like, from the Bible, the faith of a mustard seed. Farmers had to believe in something that you could barely see to grow crop, but they did. That's why they yielded such great crops. So, man, that's all goosebumps, resonation, and just what a beautiful conversation and energy transfer that we had today, man. I'm very blessed to be able to have this conversation. It was long overdue, honestly. Like, it's almost like sharing a testimony from coming from something that you've overcome. It's almost what this felt like to me. So I appreciate you having me on, and this won't be the last one from us. I probably can guarantee you that. So.
Yeah. It was really cool, because it's like, I know we've been trying to break this down
So
and
long we were talking about it, just literally chop it up. Long overdue. And 7 is one of my favorite numbers, by the way.
And you know what's funny? I seen your look on your face, and you're like, lucky number 7. It was just like, it was cool.
7 is one of my favorite numbers.
Obviously, thank you for your time. End of the day, to be able to bring people closer to faith, to be able to get them to see a bigger picture of family, to be able to understand and have a good health and support fitness, and be loving, be loyal, and be a good leader in the world. As a human, and just trying to strive for human excellence, so to speak.
That's it.
It's very, very, very cool to be able to share this time with you. To people behind the screen, really thankful for you and your time, and just the opportunity to be able to influence you, help you, get you to see a bigger picture, different perspective, and just get you to share some time with us. We really appreciate everything that you do. Give me a like, give me a comment, give me a share. Show me some love any which way, shape, or form. I don't mind at all. Thank you again for the episode 7. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
You did.
There we go. That was fire, bro.
That was clean, bro.